You're listening to Potty Mouth Radio, the home of movies, music, television, and comedy. The following podcast contains spoilers and rude words. We watch a thing. We watch a thing. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Watched a Thing with Billy and Dave. How you doing, mate?
I'm very, very good.
I bet you are. I'm good. We've got two movies to talk about, plus a heap of others that because peek behind the curtain, it's been a little while since we've actually recorded in person together.
You had to get your nose job.
Oh, man. And then it just kept getting worse. Today is the first day that I don't have a horrific, pungent smell stuck in my nose. So
Ew.
That's a win. Yeah. Although I don't know if this is normal. Does this ever happen to you? I woke up this morning and my nose was crazy stuffed. It's getting like really congested while I sleep. I blew my nose. It was so blocked that no air came out my nose, but air came out the corner of my eye. Like, has that happened to you? That's never happened to me in my life.
Maybe once or twice in my life, but I know that it's possible because I remember seeing, I don't know if it was YouTube. No, it wasn't YouTube. It was way back in the 90s when I was at uni and used to work helping out with the lugging for the bands and gigs and things that were going on. And we had a couple of times we had Jim Rose's Circus Sideshow come and perform. Who are, for those that don't know, I don't know if they're still performing, but Jim Rose was this kind of carny who had assembled a bunch of, old school carny folk.
Bit of a P.T. Barnum type fella.
Yeah, there was Mr. Lifto who used to like pick up heavy blocks of cement with a hook through his penis and, people used to, impale themselves with swords and all sorts of stuff. And there was, I can't remember who it was, but there was one of the guys used to do something like drink milk and then like hold his nose and blow and just streams of milk coming out the corners of his eyes.
Jeez.
So I know it's connected. And what's the other thing? He'd swallow like a black, I don't know if it was a condom or a balloon, but it was like a black balloony thing.
Yeah, yep.
And, pull it out his nose, pull it out his eyes, all that,
That's nasty.
Freaky, gnarly shit, yeah.
Oh, man. All right, well, we've got two movies to talk about this week, Flight Risk and Wolfman. Which one shall we do first?
Well, I think, given that these were two of your most anticipated, we'll start at your number 10, Flight Risk, and then I can't remember where Wolfman was, but it was further up the list.
Yeah, which was apparently the complete opposite way to do it. Although, I don't know, you might disagree because you've been really slagging off Flight Risk whenever you've had a chance. But Flight Risk is a 2025 American action thriller film directed by Mel Gibson and starring Mark Wahlberg, Michelle Dockery, and Topher Grace. What is it about, Dave?
It's about 90 minutes too long. It is about I think she's a US Marshal or an FBI agent or something.
Yeah, Marshal,
Michelle Dockery is some sort of a law enforcement person who is trying to get Topher Grace, who is he's an accountant who's been working for the mob and skimming money and stuff. He has turned state's evidence for immunity, but he needs to get to the courthouse in 2 days or the whole case falls apart.
Yeah.
And she needs to get him from somewhere in the wilds of Alaska, where he's been hiding in a cabin, down to, I don't know if it's like Seattle or Anchorage, or a city anyway. And the only way they can do it is on this rickety old plane that they've chartered, the pilot of which is Marky Mark, seemingly, although it turns out he's killed the pilot and he's actually an assassin from the mob boss who wants to kill Topher Grace before he can testify. And apparently the only way he can do that is to do it mid-air, not just shoot them on the ground before they take off. And then the vast majority of our film takes place in this rickety plane as they battle to try and not die and get Topher Grace to this courtroom so that he can testify and put away
Yep.
whatever mob boss it is.
Yep. Let me just say, my friend, you're wrong. This movie slaps hard. I loved every second of this movie.
Jeez,
I think
nice.
the chemistry is great. Michelle Dockery is fantastic. I have not seen her in a film like this before. I'm most familiar
Have
with
I
her, of
seen
course.
her in anything? Who is she? The name's familiar.
Well,
though.
I'm most familiar with her from Downton Abbey, where she's the lead.
All right. So I've not seen her.
There is a mini-series adaptation of Terry Pratchett's Hogfather that I watch every Christmas that she is the lead in. Yep.
Oh, okay. I haven't seen that in ages, but I know I've seen it.
Yeah, she's a bit of a famous name in Britain.
Yeah.
So it was amazing to see her in an American action movie. She was fantastic. Topher Grace is fucking great in this movie. He is a lot of fun.
The best thing about this by
He
far.
is just having a heap of fun. Wahlberg's fine. He's getting a lot of
Wahlberg
talk,
is
but
fucking terrible.
But you know what? Wahlberg is barely in this movie. Wahlberg is only there to be threatening every kind of 10,
he does
20 minutes, and then he goes to sleep.
And either handcuffed to the wall or sleeping.
Yeah.
With I've got to say, the worst bald
Bald cap.
But it's not. It's
No.
not a bald wig.
That's what
He
I
shaved
said.
his head.
Yes.
It
I
looks
saw.
worse than a bald wig.
Yes.
But he insisted on shaving his head. And
I
the
know.
question is, why?
Yeah, because I saw a TikTok where he was talking about shaving his head, but then when Nooska and I saw the movie, she was like, "That was the worst bald cap I've ever seen." I had to tell her, "That's not a bald cap."
That's his real
I
head.
don't know why it looks as bad as it does.
Why have they given him? And at first I thought, oh, it's this weird, like, extreme version of like Charles Winchester from MASH, where it's like totally bald here, and then round the back is like full hair, like not thinning.
Yeah.
But then you see him from the back, and there's a second bald patch on the back of his head.
And it just
No one balds like this.
and it didn't actually need to be there. It's meant to be a bit of a reveal when she, pulls off his hat and there's fake hair in there.
The reveal is that he's Bobo the Clown.
I know, but by that point, you already know he's not who he says he is. We don't need him to be bald for us to know he's a bad guy.
No, we have a weird southern accent that drops in and
Yeah.
out randomly. Y'all need a pilot?
But I thought this movie did a great job of juggling tension. You didn't find this movie tense at all?
Michelle Dockery and Topher Grace are both perfectly fine. Topher Grace, I think, is very entertaining in this. I think Marky Mark is awful. I think this is possibly the worst written film I've seen in
That's
about
insane.
5 years.
That's
It is-
insane.
it is-
You come on.
Mate, nothing
Come
makes
off
sense.
it.
It is ridiculous.
We
to the-
just saw
No-
fucking Brave New World. How can you say this is the worst written film?
Oh, this is so much. Brave New World has myriad issues. The writing is not good. But this is the most ridiculous premise. Nothing makes sense. The dialogue is just awful. There are a few moments of action that kind of work, but there's not really much action in this. It's meant to be more tension, and I
Yeah.
didn't find any genuine
man.
tension in this at all.
See, I did. There were moments where I was literally on the edge of my seat.
It was like edging towards the exit.
I thought this was a really good time at the movies. Like, this just reminded me of watching, thrillers in the 90s. Like,
I said to you, but when we were doing the most anticipated, it shocked me that this was a Mel Gibson film.
Yeah.
I know he's probably not got offers all over the place, but he's working on, Christ Part 2, The Return. So he's got irons in the fire. This looks like a 90s Rennie Harlan film. But to me, and you're obviously the complete opposite of this, to me, where something like Cliffhanger is stupid in the extreme, but it's super entertaining and exciting, and you just go along for the ride. I wasn't going along for the ride for this because I just found it insultingly dumb.
yeah, right.
The premise, the premise of Cliffhanger, as an example, is kind of stupid. But you can, if you get on board with the silly overarching premise, the rest of the movie kind of makes sense in that world. Whereas this, the overarching premise is retarded and will never happen. It makes no sense. Everything about it is stupid.
I disagree. What about the
you-
premise is stupid?
This is the most efficient way for them to get rid of Topher Grace. They know where he is. because they've killed the pilot of the plane. If they know where he is, why haven't they just gone and fucking killed him? Why are they waiting for him to get onto this rickety plane so that they can kill him in midair? Why not just have a? Why isn't Marky Mark?
That is explained. That is explained.
Why doesn't Marky Mark shoot Topher Grace before he gets on the plane from it with a sniper rifle from?
Because Marky Mark is not just a killer for hire. Like I think that is explained and covered in the movie. Marky Mark is
the most convenient bull. Oh,
nah.
So this organized crime, you know, they make out this is like a Gotti Gambino level organized crime figure. The most efficient way for them to silence the guy that can send him away forever is to send fucking Ted Bundy to do it.
Yeah.
Do they not have actual professional killers who could just go and take him out?
Mate, I don't care. I'm having a good time.
Why are they hiring fucking Leatherface to do it?
Because it's more fun that way, because this is a movie. Mate, if you're talking about efficiency, half the movies you've ever seen would be over in 4 minutes as someone rocks up with a gun.
You don't hire fucking Steve Buscemi from Gone Air, the guy who's going to, like, eat their face.
No, look, I was on board with this movie from the start. I had a heap of fun. I'm going to rewatch it. I got to be honest. I enjoyed that. Look, don't get me wrong. Are there some dumb moments? Sure. Do we need the guy on the phone that she's flirting with?
Oh, I didn't even get to fucking Apu, the flirt master, who's supposedly the one getting them down. No, shall we go out to dinner? Why does he have to be Indian? Like, not. That sounds terrible. I don't mean it in a racist way. I mean, why does he have to be a cliche cartoon Indian?
Yeah. Look, yeah, I didn't need it, but I also didn't hate it. I was just kind of smiling and having fun with the movie. I will say they did make so much of a point of him that at first I thought he was going to be a bad guy as well. Because I was like, why are we focusing so much on this?
There is no way this is a real person that is doing this voice.
Yeah, I was like, why are we focusing so much on this? This is clearly like a setup. And I was wrong. It really was just a flirty pilot who wanted to bang him.
Me is that I assumed that had to be something fake because it was so unbelievable. But the flipping and flopping about, oh, is her boss the traitor? No, it's the head of all of that was so telegraphed and so patently obvious the minute they started talking about it.
Yeah.
Oh God.
But you know what? I still enjoyed this movie.
I am glad one of your most anticipated lived up to expectation and was what you wanted.
I mean, it's not going to be in my top 10 of the year list.
Jason and I can talk about it at the end of the year.
Oh, you better not. Did Jason not like this either?
I don't know, but I'm sure he won't.
No, I'm a 7 out of 10. I had a great time. I had a great time.
2.
Oh, that is so low.
I feel generous doing it. 2 out of 10.
Well, let's move over to a much worse film. Wolfman is a 2025 American horror film directed and co-written by Leigh Whannell, a reboot of the Wolfman franchise, and of course part of the... well, are they still calling it the Dark Universe now? Or...
I don't think Leigh Whannell's in that. Isn't he his own thing? He seems to... I don't think Invisible Man was part of the Tom Cruise Mummy. Was it?
I think it was. Okay, here we go. The film was announced in 2014 and was to be part of the Dark Universe, a shared cinematic universe centered on Universal monsters. After the failure of The Mummy, Universal shifted its focus to standalone films. The success of The Invisible Man rekindled Universal's interest in the Monsters franchise. So
it's gray area.
Yeah, it's like...
Did they recreate it, or did it just rekindle their interest in these, using this IP?
Yeah. So stars Christopher Abbott, Julia Garner, and Sam Yeager. This is interesting. I don't know if you knew this, but this was actually pitched as a film by Ryan Gosling, who was also set to star in the film.
Oh.
Yeah. But they left the project in 2013, and then Whannell took over. So I found that really interesting. But let's get into it. What is it about, Dave?
It is about a couple and their young daughter who are if I recall correctly, his father has passed away. We do get a flashback to him as a young kid. His father used to take him hunting. And his father apparently disappeared. There was a hint that they may have encountered some sort of a monster in the woods or something when he was young. But his father's passed away after a period of estrangement. He's inherited his dad's house in the forest, and so he and Julia Garner and decide, their marriage is in a bit of a rut. They've sort of stopped communicating, and they said, well, I've got to go and look at this place. Why don't we make a weekend of it? Get away from the stress and everything and kind of work on us. And so they do that. And before they even get to the house, they have an axe. They meet a guy that Chris Abbott knew as a kid. He's going to guide them to the house. They have an accident and get chased to the house by some creature, monster, whatever. And then it's basically them versus the monster for the rest of the film, while Dad's kind of been scratched by this thing and slowly starts changing. But it didn't go where I thought it was going to go.
Me neither, mainly because this is more of a body horror movie than a horror movie. This is more Cronenberg's The Fly than it is The Wolfman.
Yeah, there are certainly some similarities.
This movie, as far as I'm concerned, is really much more about the transformation. Like, it all takes place pretty much primarily in that one night, and it's more about Christopher Abbott fighting the transformation than it is even about them fighting the other wolf.
The main purpose of the original wolf, who, spoilers for anyone that doesn't pick this up 3 seconds into the film, is his dad. The main purpose his dad serves is to keep them in the house.
Yes.
Because otherwise they would jump in a car, they would drive to take them to a hospital or something.
Yeah.
It's a device to keep them trapped where they can't deal with things in the way that you normally would.
So I actually quite liked that, because I love The Fly. I like body horror. I like that kind of internal struggle in a film. I understand that this film wasn't critiqued very well, because I think a lot of people went into it expecting a werewolf movie, and that's not what this is. So, full disclosure though, I saw this movie kind of on a day of denial. So I had kind of recovered from my surgery, and I was like, okay, finally I can get out of the house. I can go do something. And I saw the day in between recovering from my surgery and the sinus infection kicking in. And so I was actually not feeling crash hot. And so I did find it a bit hard to focus on the film. And I just need to give that full disclosure, because I don't want to say that the film isn't engaging, because it perhaps was not the film's fault. But given I liked the narrative and what the film was, I didn't actually enjoy the film a lot. And I don't know if that's the film's fault or mine, which is why I just need to mention it. I found it a bit boring. Were you the same, or is this just me?
I don't think it's a bad film. I think it's a fine film.
Yeah.
Given that it was Leigh Whannell, given that it's Christopher Abbott, who I like immensely, Julia Garner, who I like immensely.
Yeah, same. Yeah.
I had higher expectations, so that's probably on me. But it did let me down a little bit. But I did enjoy it. I liked that it was really focused in on he and his wife and the daughter.
Yes.
How they deal with the fact that in their eyes, he's been infected by something. He is getting sick.
Yeah.
Obviously, this is a kind of attempted a realistic presentation of this.
Yeah, definitely.
So their minds don't go to werewolf.
Well, this is what I was going to ask though. How long? Okay, let's say one of your kids or your ex-wife or something. Let's say they get bit by a werewolf and they start transforming. How long do you think it would take before, even though you kind of think it's illogical, how long before you go, fuck, they're a werewolf? Because I would have done it much earlier than Julia Garner did in this film. He goes pretty werewolfy pretty early.
Well, I think her arc is actually quite believable. So initially, because it's not like they see, she hasn't seen all she knows is he's got a scratch on his arm.
Yeah.
She didn't see it. She was on top of the vehicle. He was the one reaching out the car door. So as far as she's concerned, he's been infected by something. and something serious, because he starts going downhill pretty quickly physically.
Yeah.
But I think I liked the point at which she went from trying to look after him to trying to get her and the daughter out, and they try to get away in the car, and obviously they're not able to. But she tries to get away and leave him behind and shut him in the house and stuff.
Yeah.
And then it comes around full circle when they realize that the big bad's still out there, and he starts protecting them, even though he's losing himself. And I liked that. And
I liked that too.
It was in the trailer, but not in the film, I think, where he's becomes non-verbal because he's changed too much, and so he's sort of still trying to communicate through writing. In the trailer, he writes, but she says, "What's happening?" He writes, "Changing." Right. In the film, I don't think that was there.
No, I don't remember that.
He writes dying or something, which I don't think is as good. I think changing is better. I don't know why they.
Yeah, I liked all that too, and I did like. I thought that it was constructed quite well. I thought the visual effects were good. I thought the monster effects were really good. I actually quite liked the visual look at the film, like when you were in his brain and he couldn't understand what they were saying and stuff.
The way it harkened back to the kind of the visual devices that Winnell had in Invisible Man, where he would pan and pause on empty parts of the room.
Yeah.
And that was kind of got you into that particular type of monster. I loved the way the camera would spin around and you'd change to his point of view, and the sound would change. So it would go from understanding them
to almost like Charlie Brown parents.
Yeah. I thought that was really, really cleverly designed.
Yeah, same. Yeah, overall, I really liked the film. Like I said, I was a little disappointed in it, but I want to rewatch it because I'm not sure how much of that was actually the film's fault that I was struggling to engage, because certainly everything it was doing, I quite liked. And I, for one, am all for the Dark Universe. I'm blaming The Mummy more than I am this idea. Like, I'm all for, give us, like, Frankenstein and Dracula and, give us all of these universal monsters.
Give me a creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah.
Another thing which I'll shout out that I really liked, I liked the fact it was bookended with the hunting hide. So you have him as a child with his dad, and they're like cowering while something's crawling up the side.
Yeah.
And then they mirror that completely with her and the daughter in there. So it's a parent and child again, with something coming up the outside. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. I'm a 7 out of 10, and I'm really looking forward to rewatching it and seeing.
Honest, I thought you were going to be quite low. I'm probably only a 6.5.
Okay,
but it's solid, and I do want to rewatch it, and that might go up to 7. I don't know.
Nice. All right. Any other movies that you want to give us a quick wrap up of, spoiler free?
While we've been checking things off the most anticipated list, I did get to one of my most anticipated, which was The Gorge.
Yes, that's right. Apple original,
Scott Derrickson film, Anya Taylor-Joy, Miles Teller.
Interesting.
Who I didn't know.
Given the cast and Scott Derrickson's cred, I can't believe this movie isn't getting talked about or promoted more. You're like the only person I've heard talk about it, really.
Other than obviously a trailer on Apple, it's just kind of that they just dropped it. I was very high on this. I think it was my second most anticipated.
Yeah, it was definitely high.
Perkins the Monkey. It didn't quite live up to that. What I didn't know when we did that episode is that it's the writer of Fast 10. And do you remember that bog standard sci-fi with Chris Pratt and Yvonne Strahovski, The Tomorrow War?
I have no recollection.
That's probably
of that.
what most people would say. I think that's who the writer was, and the area where this falls down is a little bit harsh. If there is an area where it's lacking, it is in the writing. The premise is fantastic. I love the premise, but I think the pacing's a little off. There's some some dialogue is pretty pedestrian.
Yeah.
But Anya Taylor-Joy and Miles Teller are both so good, and the chemistry between them is really good, and they carry it. The writing could be anything really, and it'd still kind of get there. I think the design of the creatures, once you get into the gorge and actually see them, I think is really cool.
Yeah, nice.
Without giving away the plot of it, they're kind of people merged with other biological things like trees and other things.
Yeah.
So you've got it's sort of had a very similar feel actually to Alex Garland's Annihilation.
I was just gonna, when you mentioned the people mixed with, I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah. So it's a little bit as you'd expect from Derrickson rather than Garland. It's not quite so cerebral and dreamlike. It's a lot more monstery, hellscapey.
Yeah,
but it is still that kind of merged
nice
things. I thought they looked really cool. There's some pretty cool action scenes in it. It's just the pacing's just a little off. So you've got the first half of it where it's almost like a romance with the two of them at either end of this gorge, like communicating through telescopes or binoculars. And then you get this sort of big change when they actually go down, and then it just becomes kind of monster action-y. But I liked it all. I'm probably a high 7.5 out of 10.
Yeah,
nice. Not quite an 8, but
nice. I might throw it on this afternoon. I did get to Bridget Jones' Mad About the Boy.
Oh, you poor thing.
Well, are you a fan of the Bridget Jones franchise?
I think the first one is quite enjoyable. I think
that's where I am too.
Despite the fact it's bizarre casting to cast an American, I think Renee Zellweger is actually pretty good in the role.
Yeah.
Once you get over the fact that one of the no actresses in the whole of Great Britain. I haven't revisited it. I've seen the first one a couple of times. I've seen the second one, I think, once.
Yeah. That's where I am too.
I didn't see the need for a second one.
No.
I realized they're probably a series of books, and that's why, and it's popular. But the first one I thought ended nicely. I didn't need more. I certainly didn't need a third trip to the well.
This is the fourth.
Oh.
Yes, yeah.
What was the third?
I have very, very little memory of the third.
The second one's the one where Firth and Grant fight in a fountain, isn't it?
Yep, that's the second, and so that's the Edge of Reason.
An Eat, Pray, Lovey sort of one where she goes off Eat, Pray, Loving through Southeast Asia and finds Hugh Grant there or something.
That's right. So that's the Edge of Reason. Then in 2016 we had a third one, Bridget Jones's Baby, which I have zero memory of that film at all.
I have not seen that.
I don't know whether I actually saw it. If I did, I have no memory of it. And then so this is the fourth one. Look, as far as this is certainly the second best film. I don't think that's saying a lot because I think that after the first one, they're just not memorable. This movie definitely has its moments. It does some weird things because, of course, we're now bloody 25 years on from the first one.
And isn't she's hooking up with some 20-year-old in this or something, isn't she?
That does happen, but that is not kind of how it ends. I like the way that Hugh Grant and Colin Firth and their characters are used in the film.
I thought, isn't Firth dead in this one?
Yes, he is, yes.
Oh, but what flashbacks on?
Flashbacks, and she kind of sees him as, like a, not a ghost, but,
she imagines him as sort of.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's all really touching and stuff. She's got 2 kids from him in the film, and it kind of follows their arc of losing their dad and Bridget Jones starting dating and stuff. It's not a bad film, but it's not like, I wouldn't
sounds a fair bit more serious than
it is.
Previous ones.
It is, yeah.
It's like the difficult Clark's 3.
yeah. It is a lot more serious, but then throwing in her dating a 20-year-old is a bit weird.
It's an odd thing in a film that's about her dealing with how long is this set after Firth's?
Like 2 years. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's odd. It's odd. So I didn't love that. That's not how. Like, it doesn't end up with her with him or anything, but it's an odd little sidestep the film takes. The film feels a little bit more like a series of adventures rather than a cohesive film. It's kind of like a lot of things happen and it doesn't follow a single thread. So it's fine if you want to go see it, but I maybe like a 5 on it.
Yeah, hard pass.
Yeah.
Zero interest.
Yeah.
Zero interest. One other thing I got to, which was on my anticipated TV shows, I binged through Zero Day, which is that political thriller with Bobby De Niro and your gal Lizzie Kaplan.
Are you in love with her yet?
She's good.
She's amazing.
It's the basic plot of it, where he's a former president who gets put in as the head of a task force to investigate this zero-day event, which was a big cyber attack that caused thousands and thousands of deaths from derailed trains and planes and whatever. That is what it is. That's kind of what I was expecting. There's a lot of elements that I didn't know were in there from the trailer, which I think added to it.
Yeah. Okay.
So De Niro's character is seemingly battling with possibly the onset of dementia or something, which kind of adds a lot to his character because he's in this, suddenly out of retirement into this high-profile position, and possibly his faculties aren't all there. That was quite cool. Lizzie Kaplan plays his daughter, which I didn't realize, who's also a congresswoman. They've got a troubled relationship, which is very interesting and quite well done. Joan Allen's his wife, and Angela Bassett's the current president. It's very solid. It's better acting than I've seen from him in a while. I certainly preferred it to, say, The Irishman.
Yeah.
I think it's... some of the twists, I think, are possibly telegraphed a little. You sort of see some of it coming, but it's very solid and absolutely worth watching.
Yeah, nice. I mean, if it's Lizzie Kaplan, then I'll check it out.
And Jesse Plemons as well.
Okay. Now you're cooking with gas.
Yeah, she's hooking up with Jesse Plemons.
Nice. All right. Well, next week I reckon hopefully we can get to The Monkey.
Yep, my most anticipated film of the year.
Yeah, I had no idea that it was even a movie until your most anticipated, and now I've seen the trailer a few times.
Stop it. You did not go and watch those 3 trailers like I asked you.
No, I did not watch trailers. I saw it at the cinema. And
it's literally been 2 weeks, and you were going to go and watch Death of a Unicorn, The Gorge, and The Monkey straight after we finished recording.
I didn't watch any of those trailers. I have not seen a trailer for The Gorge. I did see a trailer for Death of a Unicorn. And yeah, that did look intriguing. So yeah, I am keen on that. But yeah, so there you go. Hopefully next week, The Monkey. But thank you for joining us here at We Watched a Thing. If you want to get in touch with us, you can do that at pottymouthradio.com, pottymouthradio@gmail.com. Go and join the Facebook listener community. And we'll catch you next week.
Yeah, to talk about The Monkey.